All right, everybody. Come on in. It is that magical day. It is Sunday. It is Sunday where we have a great start to what will be the beginning of our week, where we have the opportunity to rejuvenate, rebuild, and set some goals and tones for ourselves. Give everybody a chance to come on live here because I tell you, I have some amazing information to share with you with an amazing guest who saw this opportunity to share her craft with you. And I promise you, this is a live that you don't want to miss. So go ahead and share this live stream, share it, comment, make sure to bring people in. Today, we're going to be talking about balance, how mental health impacts your growth and building success for you and your community. You guys know that I am all about building for your success. And so today we have an amazing guest speaker who I am extremely excited to even be able to bring on and talk to with you guys. I am all about empowerment of our people and us doing a great job of building. And when I came across this young lady, I knew that she was somebody that we needed to have on this platform. So on today, we're going to have Dr. Mashone Parker Wright. She is a counselor, PhD, licensed mental health counselor, and so much more. She's going to be coming to you tonight where we're going to be talking about mental health, balance, and just how important it is for your success. Welcome on to today's live. Again, thank you so very much for accepting this invitation and sharing your craft with people, Dr. Michonne. It is very appreciative. So before we get started, of course, I do want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us about who you are.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have been invited to do this. I love speaking about mental health and what I do. It's a passion of mine. So anytime I get the opportunity to speak in front of an audience about what it is that's important about mental health, I'm always like, let's, bring it on. So thanks again for having me. I really appreciate you. So
Well,
yes, as mentioned, my name is Dr. Michonne Parker, and I am a licensed mental health counselor. I currently have a private practice social service agency in Northwest Indiana. Specifically, my office is located in Maryville, Indiana. Currently, what we do is offer mental health services and services such as parenting education. We do case management. We even offer an educational program for small children. We offer mentoring. Mental health is definitely our that's what we do mainly. So I definitely want to talk more about that. But yeah, so as mentioned, I have a PhD in counselor education and supervision. And I also previously I was a professor. And so from that, from teaching, I went on to open my private practice a few years ago. So the private practice is something that's fairly new. But
mhm.
I've been a therapist since 2009.
Awesome. So you were a professor and teaching in the subject
And count
in counseling.
of
Okay,
yep, right at
awesome.
Purdue.
Come through, sister. Well, I want to say congratulations and round of applause to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I love to meet successful women and successful women that look
Hmm.
like us, but most importantly, taking your talents and your skills and dedicating it to helping other people. Right. So thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that background with me. Listen, there's no better person to be in front of us talking about this today. So, as you said, you want to talk more about mental health. So, I want to jump right in. And the very first question I want
Okay.
us to talk about is why mental health?
Yeah.
Why mental health? Let's talk about that.
That's a good question. So, why mental health? First of all, I think is very important to acknowledge that the importance of taking care of our mental health, and that's for a number of reasons. From my experience, I'll talk a little about personal experiences, then I'll move forward as to how I became a mental health therapist. But growing up, I grew up on the south side of Chicago in an
Mm-hmm.
urban housing, public housing development. And, I didn't have a lot of mentors. I didn't have a lot of positive images, positive representations of what people, especially people who look like us, were doing. And so when I was a senior in high school, I took a psychology class and I thought, oh, this is interesting. It just made me think about things a little bit as far as how people think. And so it led me to have a major in psychology and further my education from there. So the
Mm-hmm.
reason why we need to discuss mental health is because it saves lives. Talking about mental health saves lives. There are many, many people who we have lost, whether it be through suicide, whether it be because, people are just making poor choices because they have not dealt with their mental health. And so when you ask the question, why mental health, the first thing that I think of is because we want to live, and we want to live well, and we want to live happy. And that is not something that's impossible to do. It is definitely something that is reachable. And I think what happens is that, especially in a Black community, can I keep it real? Can I?
This is why we're here. Keep it real.
Okay.
We not
Okay.
sugarcoating it. That's why we here.
Okay, let's talk about the Black community. So, especially in the Black community, I think we were taught to not talk about our mental health. It's just something that was, whether it was overt or covert, it was something that we just did not discuss. You dare not to go to any stranger to talk about something that was happening inside of your home. And so
Mm-hmm.
what happened with that is that those things passed on to generations and future generations, and it's still happening now. Now, what I will say, I'm very proud, is that when I look around, I can tell that it is changing, although slightly, that it's becoming something that is acceptable, but it's still not where it should be. So when I think of the question again, why mental health? Because we want to live, and we're not going to do that without talking about it. I'm sorry, this is not something that we need to be sweeping under a rug. We need to remove the rug, shake it out, and deal
Shake
with
that.
it. And
Shake
so
that rug
it's
out.
shake it. And here's the thing, it's scary, I think when a lot of people think about mental health, they think about extreme mental illness. So, maybe they had a family member who suffered from severe mental illness, like let's say schizophrenia. I think people picture mental health as being represented like that, but it's
Mm,
so much more, and it's so many variants, and it's so, the level of severity could go from mild to severe. So there we do have the severe mental illnesses, but we also have people who just feel like, you know what, I just have a few bad days, and it's no big
mm,
deal, I'm dealing with it, I'm handling it. But I'm here to say, what if you're not? What if what you think you're doing could be different? What if you could do something different and it could make you feel, even if it's just this much better? Because I don't know about anybody else, but if I'm a 3 and I could get to a 4, then I'm all for it. So,
mm,
I feel like we become complacent with the way things are in life, because again, we were taught that it's just not something that you talk about. It makes
mm-hmm.
you weak. I've heard, oh, it makes you weak. You must be weak. If you need help outside of yourself, outside of your church, then you must be weak. And I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. It is not true. As a matter of fact, I will argue that it make you even stronger of a person if you could acknowledge that you need help. And I know it's a big step for a lot of people. I know that it's not something that is easy to do, but it's something that is possible. And so, why mental health? Because we need to live, and we need to live happily and healthy for our generations to come.
Wow. Well said. Listen, the people in the comments are going crazy. Tamika says, yes, keep it real. Listen, you are here because it's exactly what we want. We want people to keep it real, and you very well spoken. We need to live. One of the focuses and one of the things that I like to also talk about on this series is how different things contribute to our success, whether it's
Mhm.
personal success, whether it's professional success. Can you tell me how you believe that mental health is tied to or can be impactful on a person's success? And I'm going to use air quotes because success is definitely defined differently
Define
by
differently for different people. Right. Oh, absolutely. I think that another good question. You came ready, didn't you?
I did. I did.
So, let's talk about success. So I think I have to go back. I'm gonna go back to me and you. I mean, just being a little girl, right? So you're
Mhm.
young. You're in, let's say, elementary school. A lot of people as adults, when especially in therapy, I like to go back. I'm that therapist. I may not ask you
Mhm.
to lay on the couch, but I'm gonna ask you to take it back. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna say, when did it start? Because what happens is that a lot of times when you come into therapy, for a lot of people, it's because they feel like they've hit rock bottom, right? But
Okay.
if you go back to being a young person, and don't get me wrong, as a young person, it was the adults around us responsibilities to make sure we got the help we needed. But the success and mental health is tied to even being a child. So let's say it's a person with anxiety, which is very common. A kid with anxiety. So this could impact your success because you are just not confident. Maybe your nerves are bad. You don't speak well in front of others. Maybe you don't speak up. Maybe you have test anxiety. So those things can start really, really young. And what I want to do today is encourage any parent who is listening to pay attention, because that starts at a young age. So if you notice that your child, you may think like, oh, she's just shy or he's just quiet. Maybe he actually has something to say. Every quiet child that I've ever met, I always said, now, are you quiet because you're choosing to be quiet and you have nothing to say, or are you quiet but you have a lot to say? I always ask that question because I think it's misinterpreted. Quietness is misinterpreted, like, oh, they just prefer to be alone. So success starts really early, right? So if you have positive mental health, I believe that it will contribute to your success because it gives you a level of confidence to know that, hey, I got this. It doesn't matter what comes in my way. It doesn't matter what roadblock, because we all will face them. It's always going to be something. It could be anything, big or small. If you have confidence that you could get through it, because you know that there are other people who can help you, because you know that if you speak up about it, that you could possibly get the help you need. And here's the thing, if you're not dealing with your mental health, it could provide roadblocks to your success. So you know that we're going to move forward. So now you go from elementary to middle school. You experiencing bullying, but you don't talk about it. So now you're in high school and you have not learned the proper coping skills to deal with those feelings of sadness. And
Mm.
I'm not gonna even talk about trauma, because that's a whole series of itself. I can come back to that.
You can. I'll
So
have you back.
so we have all of these things that we're dealing with in life, because it's just life, right? So
Mhm.
big or small, don't I'm not again, there are things that can happen to you, that can happen to me, that I interpret in a very different way. But when you have positive mental health, when you have emotional intelligence, and I'll find that in a minute. If you have emotional intelligence, you have the ability to cope with and to deal with things as they come your way. It does not mean, or it does not negate, that you do not have life experiences that could be hard and hurtful to you. It only means that you have the tools to deal with it. And
Mm.
so when you do not have the tools to deal with life, then it will completely put a roadblock in front of you, whether it be to finish school, whether it be to go after that job that you wanted, whether it be to leave that relationship that you know is bad, whether it be to stand up for yourself to that friend who you know is not good for you. It matters. Your mental health is attached to all of that, because again, positive mental health gives you the tools that you need to succeed in life.
All right. Well, I'm loving that. I'm loving that. And basically we're saying that not dealing with this mental health sets roadblocks. So you mentioned two things.
Yes.
You said emotional intelligence and positive mental health. Can you elaborate
Mm-hmm.
on what's
Yes.
emotional intelligence? What's positive mental health?
Yeah. So emotional intelligence just simply applies to your ability to deal with things and to handle things appropriately. So it's not to say, let's say for example, anger. Anger is not a I'm putting this in air quotes. It's not a bad emotion. People attach anger to being something that's not good, but it's not bad. It's about how you deal with it. So when you're upset, when you're depressed, when you feel sad, because you will have days that you feel all those things. When you have those days, what do you do about it? Your ability
Mm-hmm.
to, and it's also your ability to connect to other people's emotions, to read other people's emotions and react to it. And so it's not obviously intelligence, and we're not talking about a book, but just your ability to understand and manage your own emotions. And when I say positive mental health, it just basically means, again, handling your thoughts, your behaviors, and your actions and your emotions in appropriate ways that will help you lead to life success.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. So, as you were kind of
No
breaking
problem.
things down, you talked about it starting as a child, right? Going up through middle
Mm-hmm.
school, and we all have those things. So, for the
Yes.
person that's myself, or for the person that's watching that's an adult, and they say, well, you know what, Dr. Michonne, I didn't get help when I was a kid. How, as an adult, can I fix or be in the better place from the things that were maybe once ignored growing up?
Oh, that's a good question. So I always tell people that it doesn't matter if you're doing it now. What matters is that you are here to deal with it. So it doesn't matter that it took so long. Because I think a lot of people when they come, they're like, I knew I was supposed to get help a long time ago. Oh, only if I would have came in 5 years ago when this happened. And again, we can't put the blame on ourselves from things from when we were children. But what happens is I kind of normalize that to say, it's usually cultural, whether it be family, whether it be because of race, whether it be, any type of cultural implications, and say, maybe you were raised in a way that, like, tell me about how your family dealt with conflict. What were you taught about mental health? And so that if you're taught that you're not supposed to talk about it, then how would you know that, to go out and call someone, a complete stranger, by the way, and say, hey, can you help me deal with this problem that I have? And so the normalizing the idea that it's not too late, because it's not. And but then focusing on those things happen to you, but it doesn't have to define who you are. Because you're here today, because you walked up into this office on this day, I am positive that you could become a better version of yourself because you have made a commitment to change. And change is scary, and it's not
Mm.
something that people are rooting in the front of the line to try to do. And so just encouraging people to understand that, this idea of, even though you didn't do it then, you're doing it now. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm here and I'm rooting for you. And so I'm all for helping you to process some of those things, because for some people, not all, for a lot of people, those experiences from childhood definitely does matter.
Definitely, definitely does. Um, we talked before or before coming into actually doing the live. And even when you did the introduction, you talked about how many people think that mental health is maybe designated for a certain type of person, right? Whether it is somebody who has bipolar or schizophrenia, or talk about who mental health is for,
Mm,
and what that looks like.
okay. My phone was cutting out just a little bit, but I want to make sure I heard the question.
Mm-hmm.
You said, who is it for?
Mm-hmm. And what that looks like, because you
Mhm.
talked about us
So
not
it's for
talking
it's oh,
about it.
and what that's look okay. It's for everybody.
That's good. It's for
It's for
everybody.
everybody.
Okay, that's
I don't
good. So, what about a person who? Let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about COVID. So, COVID has
let's talk about COVID.
happened. Yeah, let's talk about COVID. So, COVID has happened, and we are in the house. We locked up. We can't go anywhere. And you think that you were doing very well on COVID, but maybe you're feeling a little angst because you've sat still for too long. Is mental health something that maybe someone needs because they're feeling a little anxious from being in the house? What are you, or what would be a solution when we say it's for everybody? Is there something that's too small that's for mental health?
Oh shoot, there you go. I'm telling you, this service is bad. I didn't hear the last part. What would be
I
the
said, so
solution?
is there anything that is too small for mental health? If you got a little anxiety, go drink a little wine. You don't need mental health. Is there anything that's too small for mental health?
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, absolutely. I don't think it's a matter that's too small that exists. I don't think I've ever met a person, healthy or not, that I didn't think could benefit from going to therapy. And I always laugh because I'm like, okay, maybe I'm biased because I'm a therapist, right? But I believe that you could optimize your life just by having support. So I've had people who've made appointments and feel like, I'm in a good space in life. I'm enjoying my life. I'm having a good time. My relationship is healthy, but I just need somebody to talk to. And I've had people who, like homesick, like they're in college and they just miss home. And it's not like it's
Mm-hmm.
something severe or terrible. They're not severely depressed, but they just feel sad on some days. I don't think there's a matter too small that you could not benefit from coming to counseling to deal with. I cannot think of one thing. I mean, I'm trying to think of, I've had so many, um, I've had people, teenagers who come in and they're, to them, because here's the thing, to people who come in, whatever is happening to them is the end of their world, whether we see it as
Yes.
something that's severe or not, right? So a very common thing, I work with a lot of teenage girls, like that's like my specialty. And so they'll come in and, they're upset because their boyfriend didn't answer the phone. I'm being serious. Like, he didn't answer my calls, and this is an issue for him, and we're going to deal with it. But what's more, we're going to deal with the fact that this young man who didn't answer your phone he has impacted you so much, because there's always
Mm-hmm.
something else. It's always another place I can go, right? So, okay, what is it about this young man in this relationship that's impacted you so much that got you here, right? And so I can't think of something. And let's just talk about this COVID. COVID is uh, I don't even have words for COVID, but COVID has changed the way we think about things. It has changed the way we live, and it has changed the way we view not only our ourselves but life. And so, a lot of our clients now, we were able to adapt to COVID by offering, for example, video sessions. And so we are still available as mental health professionals to provide that support. And although, people are at home because, for some part of the world is locked down, right? But you can still reach out, you can still get help, you can still talk to someone. And COVID is lonely. Hopefully for people who live with other people, I guess they're probably doing a little better. But I have a lot of clients who live alone, and when we were on lockdown, that was very hard for them. And sometimes, the only thing they had was to go to the grocery store and grab a loaf of bread just to say they got out the house, right? And so I just want to take a moment to encourage everyone to, call your loved ones, reach out to the people that you care about, check in on people. Your strong friends, call them and check on them as well. I think we forget about those people. We forget, you see people handle things so gracefully. And so you just assume that, hey, she got this. Oh, he got this. He's all right. Reach out to those people as well, because right now, dealing with COVID-19 has changed the game in a lot of ways. And I think that it's just so important for us to not forget that everybody right now is probably in a different space and place that they were prior to COVID, because we all are forced to adapt to this. And so hopefully I answered your question, because my phone was kind of going in and out,
You
but
you definitely did. You elaborated on it's not too big or small for any person, and you talked about how COVID is impacting people, and it is okay if you're at home and you feel like you need to talk to somebody. So that is
yes.
great. Earlier you said something. You said, "Can I keep it real?" And I told you in the comments, they were like, "Yes, keep it real." And I'm like, "Yes, keep it real." Let's talk about the subject that we have not touched. Let's talk about Black men and mental health.
Ooh, oh, we gonna get deep today, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's what we're here for.
so Black men and mental health. I mean, that subject is so. First of all, something that we, like you said, is just not discussed enough. I cannot stress how much we need to keep going there and talking about that topic. When I get a young man who calls and make an appointment, I'm telling you, I'm just like so happy. I'm like, "Ooh, thank God!" And the reason why is because it's not something that's as common. And if we are being more specific, it's even less common for minority men. So even though I have male clients, majority of them are not Black men. And so when we talk about men and mental health, we this is something that we have to remove the stigma, because these are the people who are the head of their households. So we are talking about a person who's the head of your
Yeah.
household, and he's not getting the help that he needs. That's dangerous. That is dangerous. And so I need for mothers, I need for wives, I need for sisters, I need for fathers, I need for everybody to stop making men feel as though getting help and dealing with their mental health is somehow making them appear to be less of a man. I need for us as a community to help remove that stigma. And again, that starts from childhood. The whole don't cry, you're a guy, you're a man, you don't cry, you don't need to. And I have sons. I only have sons. I don't have daughters. So for me, allow my sons to express their emotions is where I start with saying, I believe that men should be allowed to be mentally healthy. And again, we're not going to be able to get there by making them think that somehow because mentally healthy is a weakness. Okay.
You're back. I can see you.
My phone rang and so it cut me off. I'm not
The
sure.
nerve of them. You dropping some nuggets. Stop calling
Oh,
her.
there you go. Okay, can you hear me? I'm sorry, my
Yep,
phone rang and
yep,
it
we can
interrupted
hear you.
everything we were doing.
We can hear you.
So we need to talk about men. We need to encourage the men in our lives, whether it be our husbands, our sons, our boyfriends, our fathers, to get the help that they need. But for the men who may be listening, and for the men who may watch this on a replay, I need for you to understand the importance of you reaching out to deal with your mental health. You are
Mm,
taking care of generations of people. You are teaching your sons to become men. I need for you to remove that gap of understanding that somehow you got this on your own. It's okay to not have it. It is completely okay to not be put together. I promise you it is. And if you come and speak to myself or other mental health professional, we do our best to just, to help men to become comfortable with that process. Because again, I think it's scary. I think at least from the feedback that I've received from my male clients is that, it's important for them to be open with, especially like depression. I'm going to talk about depression specifically because depression is one of the big ones that men tend to try to cover up.
yeah.
Not being satisfied with life, not being satisfied with career, not being satisfied in their marriages, and just kind of feeling like they have to push it back. But I don't know how much to stress. It is a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous game that we're playing by not making sure that our men are healthy. Um, it really is.
That is that is amazing. And the reason why I wanted to touch that with you is because the title of this show is how building and understanding mental health is impactful on building self and community. And you just said something. You
Okay,
just
why
said
can't I hear you? Hold on. Let's see.
it may have knocked your sound out. Can you hear
No,
now?
nope.
Hmm. What about now? All right, guys. She is exited out, but she will be right back. I hope that as you are hearing this information, this is some nuggets for you to understand just how important is check out your mental health. Our mental health, as she said, very well spoken on it. It is basically something that creates a roadblock for us. Looks like she's back. Welcome back, Dr. Michonne. Are
Oh,
you able
thank
to
you.
hear?
I
Okay.
can hear you now.
Okay, perfect, perfect. They may have called you and kind of knocked your sound out, but glad to have you
Yep.
back. We caught everything that you said about men and mental health. And so I posed a question to you where basically the title in this is talking about balance. It's the balance of mental health, finding that balance of what I need to have for myself, how it builds you, but how it builds community. And you just said something so impactful. You said the men are the head of the household and they're leading generations, but they don't
Mhm.
have help with mental health.
Yeah.
Overall, this one's going to be a pretty loaded question. And as we come into wrapping up here pretty soon, um, can you talk about how overall you believe that mental health can positively impact our community?
Oh yes. So here's the thing. This is what I think about. Um, where are you located? What city? Are you in Chicago?
Yes, I'm located in Chicago.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this. Let's take a. I'm from Chicago, so I think this is perfect. So let's take a place like Chicago. I was born and raised in the city of Chicago, public housing. So I'm very familiar with community violence. When I think about mental health in our communities, I think about the young men who are not being guided very well. I think about the multiple murders. I think about the kids being killed. I think about PTSD. I think about the trauma that must be manifesting itself in our communities and our children. I'm going to be very frank. It scares me. It's very scary to me. So when I think about building mental health, I believe it's important to put more mental health services right in the middle of the community. Because again, I grew up in public housing. I'm trying to think when the first time I ever heard of a therapist. It was I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I was much older because I didn't know what that was for a long time. And for a lot of people who are in Chicago and specifically in the inner city of Chicago where the crime rates and violence is happening, people are suffering. They're scared, they're anxious, and PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, is not just for people who are involved in a war, and it's not just for rape victims. It's for people who are experiencing and witnessing community violence. And so I have met so many young. Remember, I work a lot with young teenage girls. I have met so many young girls who are dealing with things such as their boyfriends being in jail. We're talking high schoolers, okay? Their
Mm,
boyfriends being in jail, their boyfriends being in gangs, their boyfriends getting killed, and they have to process that really at least before they met me on their own. And it was because the people around them had normalized these behaviors so much that they didn't understand the importance of getting these kids help.
yeah.
And so it's very important it's going to impact our community in a whole lot of ways. I think it will help the violence. It will decrease the violence. If you take a group of people who are angry, who are frustrated, who have limited resources, who are depressed, who are stressed, who are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and you put them in a community, and you expect what to happen. I don't see how chaos won't be developed from that. I just don't see how it won't. And so I want to, I wish that we could be more physically present in those same communities, in the communities like the one that I grew up in, for example. So I think if we dealt with our mental health within our own communities, meaning right there, like our next door neighbors, years ago, I hear this, like my mom always says, like, when she was younger, the village raised the child. Well, we don't
Mm,
have it don't at least to me it don't feel like it feel like the village is gone.
it
And
is.
I don't and it doesn't feel good. And so I think when we talk about mental health, we have to consider that we need our village back. And our village involved mental health professionals. And our village involved great educators and teachers. And our village involved great mentors. And so it will impact our communities tremendously if we were more present. And I want to be a little more specific. In the communities that I'm speaking of, we need more people that look like us.
That is heavy. That is heavy. So first of all, there are people going crazy in the comments. I did share a few of them up on the screen, but you were talking some amazing truth today. I love that you broached the subject of PTSD because a lot of us think that PTSD is for somebody who went away to war, and they're not thinking about it's it's anybody. It's trauma related. And
Yes.
so I'm definitely loving this content. I'm definitely loving everything, all of the wisdom that you delivered and you brought on with us today. I want to tell you some stuff you definitely dropped enough for us to be like, I need you to come back again so we can talk about some things. As we're going into the
Yes.
7:35 mark, though, I definitely want to give you the platform where you can leave some remarks. What do you want to say out there to the people who are watching? And then the second part to that is tell us How do we reach Dr. Michonne?
Okay. To anybody who has watched the live, anybody who will watch the live, I just want to just encourage you to work on you, because you have what it takes. It's right inside of you, and maybe you just need somebody to encourage you. Maybe you just need someone to push you. Sometimes, we need a little pushing sometimes. Um, I encourage you to pray. I encourage you to reach out for help. I encourage you to bless the other people around you. I encourage you to pay attention. Just pay attention. That's all. Just pay attention. Sometimes we have our blindfolders on and we're stuck in our own world, but just pay attention. If anybody who's watching is in need of any type of services related to mental health or even mentoring, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm going to provide my email address as well as my phone number. I don't know if I could put it in a chat, but I'm going to say it out loud as well. So I could be reached at the number 219-321-9300. So that's my number. That phone number, it comes directly to my cell phone. If I'm not in the office, it will forward to my cell phone. And I could be reached via email at the words counselinginfinity@gmail.com. That's counseling, COUNSELING, infinity, INFINITY, at gmail.com. So either one of those two avenues, I could be reached. You can also find me on Facebook at Mashone Parker Wright. I'm also on Facebook. So if you feel like you just want to talk to someone to see if therapy could be good for you, give me a call. I'll be glad to at least have a consultation with anybody who calls me. And if I cannot assist, I definitely will find someone who can. I have a network of friends and colleagues who do the very same thing that I do. We all have different specialties. And so I want to just recap. My specialty is trauma, and whether it be adults or children, sexual trauma, physical trauma, any type of trauma, I'm very good at working with that population. And I also have a niche for working with teenage girls. So if you have a daughter and you just notice like her behaviors have changed or she's shifting in some ways, I definitely can mentor your daughters as well.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that information again. Definitely grateful to have you here sharing a wealth of information that can help people positively impact their lives. So for the people out there listening, they heard everything you said, because I might have to be calling you up like, got anxiety, work is driving me crazy, and I need somebody to talk to. Definitely get it. Thank you so much again. Go ahead and speaking of, for your email and your phone number, please do, even after this live is over, go into the comments, because then for people who go back and watch this
Oh,
later,
watch it.
how
Yep.
they can actually contact you is found right in the comments of this area. Again, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to just wrap up. If you want to hang out in the studio room for just a moment,
Oh,
that
I
would
definitely
be
will.
great. Hang out and we will get this going. Guys, you have seen and heard a wealth of information as we hosted Dr. Mashone Parker Wright. We're talking professor, licensed mental health counselor, everything, where she is talking to you about how you, with prioritizing and creating a balance in your mental health, can help you to take and add to your own success. What that success looks like is different for everybody, but we have to first be honest about what we need. I hope that each and every one of you took some amazing value, as I'm excited to continue to bring this to you each and every week. Stay tuned as each of us seek to grow together, to be empowered, be inspired, and be encouraged. Remember to like, share, comment, get people on board, because we are definitely dropping nuggets here on this live every single Sunday, doing what we call giving away free game. There's no reason for us to walk around uneducated, not understanding what's going on around us when there are so many people giving you free tools. You know what time it is. As we start to wrap up, I want to say a major thank you for joining on today. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for sharing in advance. I can be found right here on Facebook, where you are already checking me out. You can reach me on Instagram as well as YouTube. I am on several different channels where I am seeking to enhance your life in so many other ways. You guys have an amazing night. Be safe. God bless you. And go out and book you an appointment and talk to somebody, because that is, in fact, for everybody. Stay blessed.